As stated by Haddo, Bullock, and Coppola in the book Introduction to Emergency Management, preparedness in the field of emergency management can best be defined as a state of readiness to respond to a disaster, crisis, or any type of emergency situation. One of the main responsibilities of citizens in terms of emergency management is preparedness. The steps of the preparedness cycle can be applied to not only emergency management officials, but citizens as well. Each step of the preparedness cycle includes activities that citizens should participate in to prepare for a disaster. Planning is the first step in the preparedness cycle. In this phase of the preparedness cycle, citizens should focus on planning an evacuation strategy, plan the resources that would be needed if a disaster struck, and what items will be taken if evacuation occurs. Organization and equipment is the second step in the preparedness phase. Citizens should have in their household some basic necessities in case a disaster strikes the area. Some basic necessities that households should have are an extra supply of water, flashlights with additional batteries, and other basic necessities such as diapers for a household with an infant. Step 3 of the preparedness is training, and step 4 of the preparedness phase is exercise. In regards to citizens, training and exercise go hand in hand. Citizens and households should be informed of evacuation plans and other planning. Once the whole household is informed, the household should implement practice drills occasionally in everyday life to prepare for a disaster. The last step is evaluation and improvement. Citizens should continually evaluate their planning for disasters to be prepared if a disaster strikes. The second phase of emergency management is the mitigation phase. According to Haddo, Bullock, and Coppola, mitigation attempts to eliminate hazard risks by reducing either the likelihood or the consequences of the risk associated with the particular hazard. In the mitigation phase, citizens must learn from the mistakes made in previous disaster situations. The mitigation phase often involves improving existing features of your house or property to better weather disasters. For example, if during a hurricane an individual's roof is destroyed, that individuals should install better quality, more durable shingles to help prevent that situation from occurring again in a future disaster. Remember, in the mitigation phase, the key is to learn from previous mistakes. The third phase of emergency management is the response phase. In this phase, individuals are responding to either an emergency or disaster that has occurred. In terms of citizens, volunteering is a major way in which citizens can help respond to a disaster or emergency. Commonly known disaster-related volunteer groups that citizens can join are the American Red Cross and the Salvation Army. However, there are also member organizations within the National Volunteer Organizations Against Disasters that citizens can join as well. Some of the organizations within the NVOAD are America's Second Harvest, American Disaster Reserve, United Way of America, and other member organizations. Volunteer groups such as the American Red Cross and the Salvation Army play a major role in this response phase and make a difference in numerous disaster victims' lives. The fourth and final phase of emergency management is the recovery phase. According to Haddo, Bullock, and Coppola, the recovery phase of emergency management involves returning disaster-stricken communities to normalcy. While volunteering plays a major role in the response phase of emergency management, volunteering also plays a role in the recovery phase. However, volunteer groups play a more long-term role in the recovery phase. Volunteer groups continue to help disaster victims regain normalcy months after a disaster strikes. As mentioned earlier, citizens can join volunteer groups and help aid disaster victims. Also, community is a major part of the recovery phase. Citizens helping one another after disaster will help communities return to normal everyday life quicker and will allow for a smoother transition back to everyday life. In my project, I use this as a reference. And that is all for this presentation. Thank you for your time.